The sound, we're raving, raving. Don't fuck with the morning sun. We're raving, take a sound. We're raving, don't fuck with the morning sun. We're raving, we're saving. Every beat till the night done come. Flags in the air, hands up high. Sweat dripping as we touch the sky. The music hit you can't deny. Tonight we live, tomorrow we shine. Yeah, they still on the best of times. Carnival queen, she a dance all night. From water spray, we all we might. We show the world we light up the night. With the morning sun. Hey, 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 hey. We are here today with Echo, where we echo the sounds and voices of women in technology, women in blockchain, women in crypto, women in holistic spaces, women all over the world. And so I'm here to you today with my lovely host, Miss Rashona Bennett. Rashona Bennett. I gotta tell you, they didn't got me saying things all crazy. I'm how many hours ahead of y'all right about now? So I'm in
Listen,
France. Okay. you know, and I'm with if anybody had a little too much wine already today. Okay, so the lovely RB Rising is here with me today. But that for that matter, I am Kimberly, otherwise known as that Black Crypto Chick on Twitter. And we are joined with our lovely guest today, Miss Joanna Yap. And let me give you a little insight into who she is. Joanna is a former electrical and electronics engineer specializing in software. And she came to the United States seeking a bit of a little exploration, a little bit of something new experiences. We'll let her get more into that. And then her journey took her on a profound turn, as it might be. And she developed a deep connection with plants beyond the traditional ceremonies that we're used to. And Joanna now focuses on amplifying the voices of these lesser known plants and this plant species, sharing her wisdom and healing properties through her work. She challenges the misconceptions about these plants, aiming to reconnect people with ancestral knowledge. This knowledge that we've been that's been removed from many of our upbringing. So I'm happy to hear about all this today. And with extensive training and in master plant deities, did I say that correctly? Okay.
Dietas. Mm-hmm.
Dietas, I knew I was butchering that. And experiencing guiding and I'm sorry, she has experience in guiding others in preparation to integrate these plant psychedelic journey and going on plant psychedelic journeys, right? And Joanna is passionate about empowering individuals to reclaim their sovereignty and innate wisdom, because we all have that within us. So she helps guide you to that, and she invites everyone across the world on a journey of self-discovery, embracing the light and the darkness, to forge deeper connection with yourselves and others and the earth. Joanna looks forward to discussing all of this with you today on Echo by BK Crypto. Let's go, let's go, let's go, ladies. Ooh,
it's so
Rashona, we
awesome
can't
to
hear.
have you.
Okay.
I'm here. It's so interesting because when we talk about echo, you never know where we're going to be echoing around the world. So my co-host is in Paris. I'm actually literally on a boat ride to Bear Mountain, and my beautiful Joanna is in BK. So we come to you live, really echoing across the world, right? And vibrating high. And the first question we like to ask our guests, Joanna, is what made you want to buy Bitcoin?
Oh, wow. Okay. So we'll jump straight into it. For a very long time, I was quite skeptical about Bitcoin, like I didn't understand it well enough other than to know that it was at the time extremely unregulated, and felt to me that it was something that a person had made up and had convinced a bunch of people into this new paradigm. And I just thought, well, I don't know that person. That person could be a con man, could be anybody, right? Like I could, like I remember telling people who asked me my opinion about it, and I remember saying something similar to, well, if I set up a table at the corner of my street and invited people to come and like, give me their money and I'll, like keep it safely for them, like, would you do it? So I just thought, well, I wouldn't do it. So that's why, I wasn't really into it. But then I got a job where I learned about, it was my job to learn about money and the money systems in the world. And in this position, I got to also really understanding about Bitcoin and crypto and the underlying technology. And in getting to know both the current system of how money moves around the world and then getting to know this new alternative method, I could actually see the future in it. And then I got into a place where I started to wonder, like, well, okay, so um, if I can see these two paradigms and I actually start to see that they're starting to be quite equal, then let me just start hedging my bets here, because now I understood it a little bit more. I understood the intent behind crypto a little bit more. And what I really like about it is that it really is the difference between centralized versus trusting one person or one entity or one body to hold all of the value of the hard-earned money that I've worked for, versus can I trust a collective? Can I trust a collective of people? What are the chances of, say, 100 people going rogue, which is possible, but then now with crypto, it is not 100, it is however many thousand nodes around the globe. I think the beauty about decentralized money is that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, which was my main thing with regards to even that original analogy that I created of like, well, if you met a man on this corner of the street, would you give him all your money? No, and I still wouldn't. And so really, I feel like there is a level of safety that I can have with protecting my money by not putting everything in one basket or trusting one particular governance structure. That's my story for why I decided to go into crypto.
That totally works. Rashona, I can barely see you, young lady. I can
I
barely
know
see
we're just gonna flow,
you.
honestly.
Okay.
So we're just gonna
Okay.
vibrate in my cosmic being right now. You feel my
Okay.
energy, and so like cryptocurrency, you can't see, but you know it exists, right? Because we're currency currently flowing. So I'm flowing today, and I love, Joanna, what you said, because what makes you also unique is because you got to see both sides. The
Mhm.
average person getting into crypto are not going to see the side on the banking side to really understand the difference between the two. You made a really clear distinction between why you jumped in. You got to really understand that it was more of a level of decentralized versus centralized, moving in community versus this one governance that we all hold, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can just briefly compare based on your learnings being in this space, how do you see the two differ?
Okay, so in terms of how the money is managed, or
Yes, the money managed, the money system, and the effects, because there's always pros and cons, but to the level of you wanting to get into it, seeing both sides, because the audience might be advanced, but also might be new, like how you first came in, and they didn't
Mhm.
have a full understanding even of the monetary system that we live in now. But now
Yeah.
that you're not only understanding the monetary system, now you're understanding a new system, an alternative system that actually works as well. So if you could like put it in layman
Okay.
terms, right? Like it's
Oh,
about the man in the corner, right?
Let me do my best. Okay. All right. So I think, you know, I don't know if I really truly see a difference, but let me try to flesh it out and I'm sure we'll land there. So, the reason why I don't really see a difference is because I generally come from a more global perspective. So, for example, let's just say if I had been born in America and I grew up in America and all of my assets are in America and my money is in American dollars, I don't have any family outside of America, then maybe that distinction would be more. But because I come from a more global international family, so I grew up with the perspective of like hedging my bets. So for example, like people might be familiar with foreign exchange. So there's this idea of being like you could even now and traditionally for decades choose to hold your money in different currencies, and you would do that to hedge your bets. For example, if you think that the um, British economy is going to be stronger than the US economy for a while, then you might want to have more British pounds. And then, when that um, economy starts to rebalance and you think that the US economy is going to be stronger, then you would bring your money back. Like, so you would start hedging your bets anyway and not putting um, all of your funds into this one government, so that what might happen, for example, say in other countries, in the past and even now, where if their government starts to maybe not get ahead of inflation, then the value of your dollar starts to drop very rapidly. So I think for me, I think there isn't so much of a difference for me, because to me, crypto is just one other currency that I can hedge my bet in, because if at this moment in time I can't tell which government, or I can't, like, I am not an expert by any means, right? But like, I'm just trying, balancing the risk portfolio of where I hold my money. And so to me, I just see crypto as another option. So to hold my money. So I will just make clear that I don't put all my eggs in that one crypto basket either. Like, I understand that I'm currently living in the US, so I will, have the funds to live my life here, and I am also considering my future of, am I going to be traveling, or what might be happening in certain areas of the world, like, what is the safest place to maybe hold some of my longer term funds, um, because I cannot anticipate the future, but I can hedge my bets. So that is what I'm looking at.
It's interesting that you mentioned that people in, wait a minute, because you're from Australia, right? Right.
Yeah, I grew up in
Okay.
Australia.
Okay. It's interesting that people from there are all, I mean, assuming, um, already think about holding different currencies, so that they can ride the wave up, at times. Because I can't think of anyone in the United States who in my friend circle who regularly does that. So it's interesting that people do that. But the other thing is, a few weeks back, we had Simon Family Investments on, and they're living in Mexico now. They're American, but they live in investment in Mexico. And they mentioned that the Mexican Pedro, that the currency in Mexico has been getting stronger and stronger and stronger against the US dollar. And so they're, actually requiring more of that currency for that reason. So it's really interesting because I don't see too many Americans thinking in that way. Rashani, hello? Oh, okay, can't hear you. Okay, we'll continue.
Okay.
So did your family upbringing shape your basically how did your family upbringing shape your views on money and how you approach money and investing? Would you say that you
Yeah.
get okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, I think I came from quite, um, I do come from a very hardworking family, and we do all the right things, and we go to good schools, and then we go to like a university, and then we get a good job, and then, um, we do the thing, and
Mhm.
and part of that is a level of conservatism I think that I inherited. So a lot more around saving, a lot more investments in real estate, more traditional financial instruments,
Mhm.
and I think, you know, I want to call it like a more of a prudent view of how we would spend money.
Mhm.
So in
Mhm.
terms
Mhm.
of like, well, do
Mhm.
we really need it? And if we, you know, like, so more on what is deemed as necessities
Right.
versus indulging. Yeah.
The
So
way we're marketed to in the United States, it's focused on, okay, you need this, you deserve this. Yeah, but
mhm,
yeah, I see a lot of people in many other countries are more focused on just their basic needs.
mhm,
They don't need a lot of stuff. Even here in France, you don't need a lot of stuff. You know, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry it becomes more like that. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think like what we were raised with is just how important it is to have a good education. So my parents spent actually a lot of money on our education, which I'm so grateful for.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I feel that it
My Wi-Fi is
also
going off and on. Sorry.
taught me how to be a good citizen. Oop, okay.
No problem. No problem. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah. So I feel like you know, I would with that model, I was taught very much to be like a good citizen, to be very
Hmm.
compliant,
Hmm.
to fit into society, and you know, I think it's important to be able um to be a contributing member of society, but then the definition of what that is for me has
Hmm.
shifted as I've kind of gone from a good little soldier to maybe a different kind of soldier.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, got you, got you. So shifting gears, I'm wondering what got you into the spiritual aspect and into plant medicine and
Mhm.
so forth. How did you find that path?
Yeah, I think I came to a point in my life where I started to be curious about my childhood. And also I was coming into like a significant milestone, and like life milestone. So, because I was already living in America, and therapy was such a thing, you know, it's so much a part of the culture, which is so different from the culture in which I grew up in. I
Hmm.
noticed in America a lot of the conversation was around trauma and healing and self introspection. Maybe just the circles that I was in,
Hmm. Hmm.
but
That's okay.
it shifted me towards learning about myself and how to be more productive towards more introspection of like, well, who am I, and where have I come from, and what are the
Hmm.
things that I've experienced, like how have those affected me?
Hmm.
And so what I decided to do was to explore therapy, like you know, was the popular culture here,
Hmm.
and it still is. But I still remember, you know, in trying to get comfortable with even going to therapy,
Hmm.
I remember going into my first session and basically telling the therapist that she had 6 weeks, and I was like, "Look, you know, this is costing me time and money. I don't have like much time. I don't want to spend too much money, so you got 6 weeks." And I I remember her saying to me, "That's not how this works." And I just thought, "Oh,
Exactly.
she's a scam artist. She's trying to scam me of my time and money." So
I love it. You've got 6 weeks to figure out what I need and make me 100%.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly, exactly. I was like, I only need to look at this one thing and then we're done. And 6 weeks is a lot of time, you know, that like, so I was like, okay, let's go.
6 weeks, 6 hours, right? You
Right, it's
know,
only 6 hours, right? And it's like six therapist hours, which is only really 50 minutes for each hour.
exactly, exactly. That's hilarious. Okay. That was kind of like me with my driving test. My driving, oh, not the test, the actual lessons. I said, okay, so my On my first lesson, I said, okay, well, I've scheduled my test. So you got, a few weeks to work this out. He looked at me, he's like, what? You scheduled your test? I said, that I did, anywho.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it
Okay.
did. Yes, it did. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so how have you experienced let me see. How has your experience with plants affected your overall personal development? I guess that kind of goes along with the whole therapy thing. Like,
Well,
what sorts of transformations have you experienced? Go ahead.
sure.
Hmm.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna like yeah, lead from therapy into plant medicine because because I thought it was taking too long and I thought she was scamming me. I just so happened just and that's just how I think life works, right? Like you ask a question and then you do get the answer. So um I came across this article randomly. I've never seen another article like that, but I needed it at the time, and it said ayahuasca, 10 years of therapy in one night. And I just thought this is gonna save me time and money.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
and it is not, well, you know what? That okay, so that brought me into plant medicine, and how has it transformed my life? In so many ways, and not in the ways that I would have thought, to be honest.
Okay.
It opened up for me a Pandora's box of
Hmm.
looking more deeply into myself than I had anticipated. Because remember, at the start, I was just like, here's this one thing I needed to look at, and then I'm out of here. But it's really helped me. It's really helped me to um, actually look at myself and how I relate to myself and to others, and to the planet.
Hmm.
And then what happened was I also came to a point where I realized that I was getting all these insights into how I am, and then I
Hmm.
wanted to learn wisdom or have answers for how to be.
Hmm.
And that actually has brought me into the work with the master plant dietas,
Hmm.
because I came to realize that beyond the psychedelic journeys that we've heard of, which are very useful and also very powerful, but that there are way more plants that are more than willing to kind of step in. They've got just as much wisdom. They are more subtle to what we're used to, because our world is so, I want to say, stimulating. It's very
Hmm.
loud. Even the movies we watch, like the action movies, everything is just very can be very in your face.
Hmm.
And so uh, I found a lot of benefit in terms of um, looking to the plants for help to define the person that I want to grow into. Or and one of the things I have learned also is it's not being somebody who I'm not. It's coming back to who I am, and the ways that I've forgotten that because of the beliefs and conditioning that I've
Hmm.
received from culture, um,
Hmm.
that I've been in, that I've
Hmm.
absorbed, and that really aren't
Hmm.
mine.
Hmm.
So that's where I've been.
Hmm. So, for someone who's new to the space, uh, what I mean, can you go through what an introductory experience would be like? Because I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm very new. I'm very green, as they would say. Green.
Okay,
Anyway.
sure. So I guess there's two different ways we could go with this, because
Mhm,
popularly when people talk about an
mhm,
introduction into the plant medicine space, they talk about um like ceremonies like, say, ayahuasca or wachuma, like the or mushrooms is another one,
mhm,
acid is another one. So that's one of the conversations around people coming into plant medicine.
mhm,
Um, and there's a second way of coming into plant medicine, which is the master plant dietas. So I'm going to talk about both. And the first one is that, and I know I did this too, but I feel that there's a lot of conversation around coming into ceremony with these plants, and I think it's wonderful to be coming into working with these plants ceremonially. So when I talk about these plants, I'm talking about the psychedelics, the like the ayahuasca, the wachuma, and so on. And I think there's a lot of benefit in terms of truly understanding the intentions of why you're coming into this medicines, and part of that, a part of the reason for being clear on it is also because, well, sometimes it's easy to reach for the thing that's most well known. So for example, and I know I did this too, where here I am wanting to, you know, shortcut my therapy process, and the first thing I heard was ayahuasca because she's a lot more well known right now. But with where I am in my journey, I wonder if based on who I am and where I am and what I'm working on, I might have been better served coming through a different medicine. So I think preparation in terms of understanding um uh what your strengths are and what you're ready to work through will also help inform maybe which medicines you might want to sit with to begin with. And also, and because like it's not one is better than the other, it's just whichever is more suited to you at this point in time for what it is that you need. The other thing that I've come to appreciate is how there are some experiences that can be so overwhelming in the first instance because it's so hard at any time, and you know it's not something you ever get good at, but it's hard to know um what you might be ready for. So there's an but one of the things that I like to work with people on is like, let's find uh what how you would like to hold energies, just so that you don't get overwhelmed. A lot of times people, you know, when they come to medicine, it is important to feel ready, absolutely, and then it's also important to have tools that can help you navigate those spaces, and to have somebody sit with you to say, all right, well, we can never predict how a ceremony will go, like we don't know, but there are guardrails we can put in place to help support you when you get to spaces that you need help navigating. So the and I'm just gonna call one thing out just very quickly. For example, if you are somebody who hasn't yet had the experience of sitting with yourself and being able to see or hold the ways in which you might have hurt somebody, for example, then it might be difficult to sit in a very like heightened experience where now you're seeing all the ways in which you maybe weren't the best person that you wanted to be, and it's totally okay. But you know, that's where having a practice of, and it could be like meditation or being in therapy, would help you, having practice of like, can I look at myself? I also like to help maybe start building a relationship with a level of self-compassion, you know, because that will help to balance you know, your experience so that you can hold both your darkness and your light, because we're not ever all dark or light, we are both. And so it's just building maybe even just the idea that like, okay, you are going to have an experience, but just remember that you are a whole person and you're going in with this maybe one intention. So when you go in, we're going to prepare for it, and then when you come out, and that's the other part of the integration that I like to help support, of being like, okay, this is information, but what are we going to do with this information, and how do you want to integrate that into your life, and how do we make sure that it doesn't eclipse your whole life, because you are still a whole person. um
So go ahead, you're gonna say?
Oh yeah, and then I was just gonna talk about the master plant dietas, because
Okay,
that
please.
is a, yeah, that is a different approach into working with plants, it is not psychedelic. So in many ways, it can be perceived as more gentle, but it is also just as powerful. And in that one, preparation and integration is just as important, but the preparation style would be different because it requires also a level of commitment and um, I want to say maturity, but like it's more of like of a devotion of being like I understand that I'm going to be in a relationship with this plant for a certain amount of time and I'm going to honor that. And it can have its own challenges only because there's a difference between a ceremony that goes for one night and you have and you're in that versus now like there's a co-creation. I own this, I decided this, I'm gonna do this and
Mhm.
I'm doing this for say 2 weeks. So that's a longer period of time. And that's
Mm.
where I'm like, well, maybe maturity isn't the word, but there is a level of I want to say commitment of
Mhm.
understanding that I chose to do this for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
I
got you. I
think it's
got you. So,
I think maturity means commitment. And you guys hear me? I apologize.
yeah.
It's like who
Mm-hmm.
decides to be talking at the same time? But I just want to chime in because I've missed a lot, but I'm sure I'll chime in the right time. So I definitely am in relationships with plant medicine, and they have allowed me to ascend to where I am. So I'm very familiar. This is why I'm just excited to have you on and being part of a dieta. And it is just to get to the point of relationship. Everything that we involve ourselves in deals with a relationship, and most people don't really understand that. Right? It's the relationship with money, right? Relationship with yourself, that self-discovery, relationship with the plants as you're teaching people and connecting, because we all take herbal tea. There's a relationship and connection with that, right? But you're taking this to another level because as indigenous beings, this is something not foreign to us. It's something that we know. We're coming back
Mm-hmm.
to the knowing, right? And so I love this aspect because in anything that we do, when we truly are looking for an outcome, it's really about what our commitment and obedience is, right?
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
the same thing when you
I
chime in. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, one of the things that I've been learning is like nothing is for free. I think we forget sometimes when we want like gifts from the universe, like you earn it going into it or you pay for it afterwards, but nothing is for free. So I just wanted to echo that.
That's true. That's true. So, what's the journey like for when you're helping others get into or introduce them into the plant space? What's that journey like
Um,
for you?
okay. So I think I guess because I do this support for both sides and also because I do hold master plan dietas. So I can talk about both sides. I think from the psychedelic journey side, generally that person would be oh, okay. So many different ways because like there isn't only one way for me to walk with somebody and that's really how I see it. I just want to walk with somebody as they go on their journey, whether or not they're preparing to go into ceremony with a facilitator. So I'm
Mhm.
walking with them going into it and I'm walking with them outside of it. Um,
Mhm.
versus if we were walking together in a master plant dieta. So
Oh,
um I think from going into an entheogen like a psychedelic journey together, in my experience, I would start with depending on the person with me. If they are absolutely green, then that journey will be quite different because it might be a slightly longer journey, and the reason for that is because sometimes uh somebody might want to come into medicine, but I might work with them to not only maybe think through in terms of like, okay, so you want to sit in this ceremony, but let's look at the questions that you have for the medicine, your intentions for what you're hoping to achieve out of that. And
mhm.
also, let's also look in terms of where you're at in terms of your readiness for it. And sometimes some people feel very ready for it, um, without maybe having the education of some tools. So so we my hope is to work with them to get at least some tools to navigate as we get there.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
it is somebody who is more more familiar and just wants to expand their knowledge of the possibilities, then that's a
Mhm.
different conversation again.
Mhm.
Um, and I can help redirect them to maybe seek uh, different medicines that would be
Mhm.
more suited to who who they're wanting to work with.
Mhm.
But then in both cases, when it comes out to the supporting of like of after the closing of the ceremony, what I found very helpful is well, a few things. The first is I am training in this modality that helps people make to discover the deeper meanings of their journeys. Very often, it's very easy to take very literally
Mhm.
a psychedelic journey that we've had, kind of
Mhm.
like a dream, and be like, oh my gosh, you know, is this me? Is this what's happening?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think um, there are layers. There are so many layers that of information that is available to us. So that's one of the things that I like to do and offer
Mhm.
to the people that work with me.
Mhm.
And on top of that, the other thing that I've learned, even for myself too, is um, easing back into your normal life while
Mhm.
integrating the information that you've learned. So there, I think, is a difference between just jumping in and making huge decisions, you know, in your life. Like, so that there's this good rule of thumb that I received pretty early on in my journeys of like, well, if the medicine told you to do anything, just maybe wait 7 days or a month. You know, see how you feel
Oh.
about it. Because one of the
Mhm. Mhm.
things that I've come to learn is that like we are our sovereign beings and we do get information, but nobody told you to do anything. You know, you don't have to do
Mhm.
anything that anybody tells you, including a plant.
Mhm.
It could be something that you'd like to do, and that's okay, but then let's also take a step back and let's figure out how to actually do this in a way that feels most true to you.
Mhm.
So I like to support that, as well as helping people to build new habits after coming out of a journey.
Mhm. Do you feel that the plants allow people to tap into ancestral knowledge within themselves? I'm
Yeah,
just wondering.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. So,
Mhm.
and I can explain actually how
Please.
that's possible.
Please.
So, so this actually relates to the master plant dieta work. And with the master plant dietas, it's a way of working with plants that allows us to learn from their wisdom. And like just remembering that plants have been on the planet like way before humans even got here, you know, so they've been witness to a lot of things. And one of the pleasures that I've, you know, had the privilege of experiencing is that different cultures have their own ways of working with plant spirits. So it's almost like everybody, well, I want to say everybody, but like so far that I've found, you know, every culture works with plant spirits, but the way that they do it might, the rituals that get them there might be slightly different, but there's a lot of very similar aspects to it. So to me, it's been wonderful and fascinating to come to learn how we are more similar than we're different, and that we all used to work with plants.
Mhm.
And so when we work with the master plant dietas, I like to um, use the analogy of like, if you imagine that your body, like if you think of a computer, your body is the
Mhm.
hardware. And when we are born and raised, it's our software and our firmware that we get from our parents and our culture, and that's our thought patterns and the way that our body responds and the way we react, our emotions, like, all of that is part of the software and firmware. Well, the beautiful thing for me about working with master plant dietas, it's basically doing a software upgrade. So you're allowing this energy to come in and to live with you for a period of time. And in that period, um, it's this energy is it basically, I also see it as like on the job training, but I have had experiences personally where I'm watching myself in an interaction that I know I would have been extremely triggered by this person. And so I know I'm not doing this reaction, but what's happening is I'm noticing that I'm responding differently and I'm staying very calm and very collected, very articulate in like standing up for myself. And I know it's not me doing it. I'm just watching myself and marveling at myself as I'm interacting in a way that I've never interacted before. So, like I used to read a lot of books and do a lot of courses, and there's nothing wrong with that. I still do. There's a lot of information that helps me organize and structure things that I'm learning. But I prefer this very different approach because previously I would have had to use my brain to do everything. I have to like read a book, translate it for myself, and then like scan my environment, notice when I'm in a situation, try to remember what the book said to do, and then like, oh, let me try to do this new thing versus, well, all I have to do is be in this container, and my whole job is to keep this container like in integrity and then just watch the plant spirit do what it needs to do and I just get this new thought pattern and new way of relating that I didn't before. So that's what I love about working with the master plant dietas. So to bring it back to like, well, how do I think it's going to help me like relearn my ancestral wisdom? Well, what I believe is because I have personally experienced these plants' ability to teach me about myself and to bring back I want to say programming that I actually already have innately within me. I believe that the plants being our ancestors and also having been around for thousands of years would also be able to bring back the information to me of the ancestry that I'm wanting to learn about. So that's how I feel that like we would have one avenue. It's not the only avenue, but it's one of the avenues of being able to reconnect to our ancestral wisdom.
Rashona? Okay, I don't know if she has a good signal again. Okay, well, I will continue. Okay. Was there Rashona? Oh, okay. Okay. I was wondering, was there uh you know what, how, because I'm wondering how the plant medicine and plant just people using it more and more, how do you see that integrating, or if at all, with modern medicine and potentially evolving in the future? Because I see more and more people going back to traditional ways of life, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's medically or spiritually or everything. So I'm just wondering, how do you see that intersection evolving in the near future? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I have some ideas, but it's only an idea.
It's good. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so
You okay?
I think that oh yeah, sorry, I just needed to cough it out a little. So
I
one
know.
of the things that that I have experienced a lot, and I'm very grateful for modern medicine because it has saved a lot of lives and it's helped us understand how we work in a physical way. So if I broke my arm, I would absolutely go to a hospital. Please set my bone, like, give me an x-ray, like all of that. Please, stick that rod, like iron rod in, like help me heal. Absolutely. Um,
Exactly.
but I also think that like there is a holistic, well, we are holistic humans, we're not just
Mhm,
physical,
mhm,
we are mental, we are spiritual, we are like energetic beings, like we have
mhm,
more to us. And so I think that moving more towards a more holistic um model is how plant medicine is going to start integrating into I guess modern medicine, or maybe modern medicine will integrate into the more traditional, because we
mhm.
used to remember that we were holistic, and at some point in
Yeah.
history they started to take out the spirituality out of everything, and they kept what they felt was necessary, but it also, I think, we forgot the parts of us that we ended up forgetting the parts of us that they ended up taking out. So we forgot that we were spiritual beings. We forgot that we were energetic beings. And the
Mhm,
truth is that like it's all related. So something that starts in the energetic or the spiritual world will
You go
eventually show
over.
up in our body. So like psychosomatics is an example. If we suppress an emotion over very long periods of time, and not because we choose to, if we live in a culture where, for example, if women can't speak up, otherwise our lives are at risk, then we're going to end up holding so much, in our throat,
mhm,
or if we hang on
mhm,
to our grief, then our lungs suffer. Like, and I'm
mhm,
think about traditional Chinese medicine that actually incorporates the energetic, the chi, with the emotions. That's like, like if grief is held in the lungs, and anger is held in, I think, the liver. I think, I'm not sure, but but I feel like the ancient or other medical modalities actually
mhm,
understood
mhm,
that we are more than just our skin and
mhm,
bones and flesh.
mhm.
So I'm really actually seeing and hoping that the way we view ourselves goes back to where we came from, which is that we are more holistic than just the meat suits that we're wearing.
That's true. That's true. On that note, I'm wondering what legacy do you hope to leave the plant world and beyond? You know, as you continue this journey and beyond your existence, what legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah. Well,
Have you even
um,
thought of it?
I hadn't thought of it until last night when you suggested, like, it came through as a question,
Mm-hmm,
because I think the way I see myself is just, a leaf on a
mm-hmm,
on a
mm-hmm.
branch of a giant tree. So if I could maybe help, well, okay, where I feel called to right now is just to help the plants help people and the plants come back into connection with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a lot of our separation comes from not remembering that we are in relationship with everything, like kind of like what Roshona said. We've forgotten to be in relationship with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
with the land that we're on, with the
Mm-hmm.
people around us.
Mm-hmm.
um and and so I feel that, and I know this is how it's helped me, that
Mm-hmm.
in me learning how to be in relationship with plants has helped recondition me and relearn all these programmings that I had inherited or and accumulated, of like I have gone from, sorry, I've gone from,
Hello?
oh,
Yeah.
hello, just okay, yeah, I I have gone from like wanting um to what we call anxiously attached in the psychology world. Like
Okay.
I've gone from being anxiously attached towards more learning and reconditioning myself towards knowing and learning and trusting that my relationships are solid even if I can't see them. And like working with plant spirits is such a good way to to experience what true unconditional love is, and then to relearn how safe it is to be in relationship. So that's one of the things that I would like to do. And the other thing that I feel really called to right now is where um, at the moment, I love that a lot of people are talking about plants again, and we're
Mhm.
talking about heavy hitters that can help them, which absolutely is true. Ayahuasca, mushrooms, wachuma, like absolutely, they're so great.
Mhm.
And there's a whole host of plants that actually want to come in and help as well. And I
Mm.
want to expand the conversation and
Oh.
share that, like, there are trees and flowers and shrubs that all have their own wisdoms and superpowers that we can actually connect with and learn from, um, beyond just the few plants that we've heard about. So if I could help foster that conversation, open that relationship, or even walk with somebody for a moment on their journey, like maybe connect them with somebody
Right.
who might be able to help them even if I can't. Like I would be glad to do that.
Yeah. So, how can people get in contact with you if they'd look like to go on a journey or would like to know more? How can people contact you?
Yeah, okay. So Um, I am in the process of setting up my website and my handles, but I'm currently findable on Instagram
Mhm.
at two little feet, so the number two little
Mhm.
Little feet FEET dot loves plants. So you can find me there.
Oh,
Cat loves
I
plants.
love it.
That's adorable. Two
That
little feet that
is.
love plants. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
in spite of the beautiful many different connections, um, because you're connecting with self, connecting with source, connecting with nature is the beginning. And so I look forward to experiencing more of your medicine.
Mhm.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Heck, again, I think I need to experience it because this is all new to me. So, I mean, I hear about it, but I've never engaged. And so I'm just like, you're fascinating to me and I need to learn more. So I'm going to look forward to seeing you in the future and potentially indulging. Go figure.
Well, you're
Okay.
welcome to come indulge with me at any time.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so on that note, we are going to sign off for this week's episode of Echo with Joanna Yap. But we hope you'll join us next week and find out who we'll have then. See you then. That was fun. Is that going to work for me? Let me stop moving it.